All right, welcome everybody. We'll get started momentarily. Thanks for joining our webinar today. One Vision, One Platform. We're here to talk about supporting multi-brand businesses with a single digital experience platform. And we'll get into it in just a moment. Let's give folks a few more minutes to join, and then we'll get started. Hopefully the slide is showing up okay for everyone. Why don't we go ahead and get into it, and folks will join as we get started. So I'm Anthony Poliseno. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Hygraph. We're a structured content platform used for all manner of digital experiences. Think websites, apps, kiosks, you name it, Hygraph can do it. And today I'm joined by Diederik Oostburg, and I'll let Diederik introduce himself.
Nice pronunciation, Anthony. Thanks. Yeah, my name is Diederik Oostburg. I'm lead technology at Vision Healthcare. We're customer at Hygraph for I think 3 years now. So yeah, honored to be here.
Fantastic, and I'm thrilled you're here with us. We've seen your use case just kind of came along at just the right time for us. Really matches what we see a lot of prospects asking about recently. Overall, I think there's a big push to kind of consolidate and control sprawling infrastructure at the moment, and you're a great sample case for our prospects and customers that want to do the same. So quick look at our agenda. We'll do this intro here, and then I'll just have a very short amount of slides on multi-brand and kind of the challenges it creates. And then we'll let Diederik steer the rest of our conversation by going into Vision Healthcare's story. We'll have Q&A at the end. Highly encourage everyone to interject, drop questions as we go. I think both of us prefer a more conversational style than just throwing slides at you and not hearing any response. So we welcome any conversation, questions, thoughts as we go. Feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll take them as they come. And with that, we'll set the scene a little bit. So one of the interesting stats we found when we were putting this session together is local comms and teams are 65% more influential than corporate ones. And this is extremely relevant to the case today, and any business that's kind of running regional offices, regional sites. Having people in region is going to be way more effective than kind of doing AI translation, not really true localization. People that understand the market and the language and the domain can always get a message across more effectively. And so I think one of the questions people are dealing with is, how do you kind of offer that structure and control of a central architecture and infrastructure for digital experiences, but pair that with that kind of local execution and control over the in-market message. And so today we're going to talk to Vision, and Vision's doing an amazing job with a single code base across 6 tenants and 13 brands. And I think the exciting part for me as a marketer is it's really core to Vision's business, how they go to market. This amount of brands will only continue to increase at Vision Healthcare. And Diederik will talk a little bit about that. But before we get into it, some of the results they've seen, I think we want to keep in mind as we're going. Probably most importantly is this faster brand onboarding. Having an acquired company, being able to migrate their content and their data over to a new platform in under 8 weeks and go live is incredible. I've seen some migration projects take more than 2 years, and that's at a vendor where we had customers that desperately wanted to leave and felt trapped and couldn't move fast when it came to that migration. So in today's world, being able to pivot and change quickly, I think is very critical. 0 Black Friday incidents since migrating these new brands onto Hygraph. When your business depends on revenue, especially that comes from a big high point like Black Friday every year, you need to make sure you're steady and available and ready for any customers ready to buy. And then long-term, a content architecture that scales without rebuilding every time a new brand joins. So Diederik will walk us through really a fantastic story around process and kind of turning this thing that could be a headache and a nightmare for a lot of businesses into something regular and repeatable. And please excuse the wild hair. It's extremely hot in Europe. And so if any of you are joining us from Europe, I'm sure you're also dealing with the same thing. I'm feeling it today. So with that, last thing to mention here, this ability to absorb a new brand into the stack quickly is what makes the Vision Healthcare model work. So without this, I think a lot of margins start to fall apart, a lot of frustration happens, and it becomes really difficult to get these new brands live quickly. So I will pass over to Diederik, and I'll follow along with your story and advance the slides, but please feel free to shout if you need me to click ahead.
Yeah. Next slide, please. So Vision Healthcare is it's a European buy and build company. I'm back. Sorry. So we're a buy and build company founded in 2017 with the acquisition of Flindal. That was actually a company I worked for. Currently, we're running at 350 million euros, and we have a lot of brands that we're consolidating into a single tech stack. Most of our products are food supplements, so it's multivitamins, omega-3, vitamin D, etc. But we also have superfoods, some personal care. And like all these brands, as Anthony mentioned, what we see in the European market is that the consumer really you need a local feel and a local touch to be successful in the market. So that's also what we try to do, is when a brand joins the company, is that it stays the same, like the look and feel stays the same, and the messaging to the customer. But on the back end, we try to consolidate as much as possible, and that's on the tech side, but it's also on the finance side, customer acquisitions, all those processes we want to align. Next slide, please. So yeah, these are some of our brands. If you're Europe-based, you might recognize some of them. But yeah, as I mentioned, still the European market is really scattered. So there are just a lot of niche brands across Europe. And what we try to do is to also build some bigger ones. But currently, it's not that we have a brand that can sponsor the World Cup or whatever. It's still really scattered, and I think that's also what this webinar is about. That sending that local message.
If I could just ask one question, start the conversation. In a scattered market like Europe, I imagine it would be incredibly difficult to kind of bring a new brand into a new region, a new locale that you're not familiar with. What does the buy and build strategy get you that the kind of organic growth strategy might struggle with?
The buy and build really gets us like local knowledge. For example, if we buy a company in the Nordics, then we have local knowledge in the Nordics, and then it's easier for us, for example, to launch our Vitamin Express platform, which was previously a Germany-only platform, really into the Nordic market, include their brands on that platform, and then grow with the local knowledge. And we see that is picking up really, really nicely. So for example, Colexaan, that was a brand that was sold only through telemarketing, and now we added it to our Vitamin Express. That's like our multi-brand platform that we want to scale across Europe. And that's picking up really nicely. And yeah, we can do that with the local knowledge, but also with a local warehouse, so we can still have fast delivery, etc., etc. And yeah, the knowledge that we buy with a new company also spreads across to other. So for example, if we buy a company that's really good at Amazon, then we make that our Amazon hub. Our next slide is about that, I think. And then a company that wasn't active before on Amazon can then also leverage that channel. So yeah, this is also about how we try to grow. So it's all about demand generation on the channels like Meta, TikTok, but we also use legacy channels, for example, television, or we even in Germany we still have like the printed catalogues. So yeah, it's just where our customer wants to buy or where they are active, where they are consuming content. We want to be present. Then the demand capture, it's really about getting the clicks in and converting them into orders, and we do that on marketplaces, but also online pharmacies, our own web stores. They can send in cards that are in catalogs, customer support. Yeah, it's just. And also brick and mortar stores, so we have them too. And then once we have the customer in, it's all about making them really happy, so they buy again. So food supplements, it's really about a long-standing relationship with your customers. So most of our products, they have a reach for 3 months. So after that 3 months, we want them to buy again, of course. And we have all kind of marketing automation through email, SMS, WhatsApp, but also still telemarketing.
So you get to bring a lot of beyond just the digital platform, all that business expertise that helps these. Probably most of them are rather small brands. Kind of scale quickly and mature in the way they approach the market.
Yeah, and really align on these processes. So and on the data that all these processes generate. And I think that's the harder part, because like all these business models, they are no one is the same, and every business manager thinks he's really special, so we always have to work with them to fit it into a more of a standardized approach, and sometimes they have really special stuff that works also really well for other brands, and then we just copy it over. So then we'll build it for them, or we use the tool that they already use, and we onboard that tool into our tech stack, and we also see that a lot happening.
I mean, it's really impressive that kind of skill sharing and knowledge sharing kind of becomes key to how the business grows. We've really set up an amazing, repeatable way to deliver that.
Next slide. It's more on the digital hub, how we call it. So these are really what we want to do is like having local brand teams that create the content, that really know the market, that really know the customer, and speak the language. And then we have all these specialized departments, for example, on marketing automation, and that all those brand teams can then use to send their message or analyze their orders. Or we have an in-house design agency, and still these people can sit across all our offices, but they all have central management that the local brand teams can then leverage to faster grow their brand. For example, as I already mentioned, the marketplace, we have a really good marketplace team in Madrid. And if we have a company joining that only is active on a web shop, then they can start selling on the marketplace, and the marketplace team does their magic and they start growing there. And that's across the board. And what we see is that the more channels a brand is active in, that these channels will start feeding each other, and you really see that synergy compounding. that's
And I see, a couple other interesting points on this slide. AI capability is something that a lot of smaller businesses, can't afford to invest into or don't have the in-house expertise on. How are you helping your brands on that front?
Yeah. So I think everybody thinks it's the next big channel, but it's also getting traffic in. So the answers of the LLM drive traffic to your web store. And the next phase will probably be product discoverability, and then the next step will be buying directly in the LLM. We're working with Commercetools to have our product data that's also coming from Hygraph, and through Commercetools send it to the LLM, expose it there, and then get the orders back that we can also do agentic commerce. Once we crack that, then we can roll that out for all the brands, because that's the beauty of the whole setup, that it's just easy to replicate.
Yeah, I mean, it feels exciting, right? It's you see agentic commerce everywhere in the space now, and obviously it's starting to roll out in some places, but it should be transformative for a lot of smaller businesses that can invest in huge brand advertising and things like that.
The question is, how will the consumer start consume it? Will they actually buy in the LLM itself, or will they still click out to our web shop? Maybe the web shop will disappear in the long term. We just don't know. But what we do know is that we need to be ready for a big channel shift, and we need the platform to do that. And I think that's what we're constantly working towards.
The bit on here that I thought was I guess refreshing in a way, because it gets ignored a lot, is the people point here. So when these new brands come on board with Vision, they're getting access to all kinds of business expertise that they didn't have before. So I thought that was a good shout. I think especially when people hear build and buy, they might get nervous. They might not understand that there are real advantages here for the companies that come on board.
Yeah, like for people who really want to jump on board, because there are also people who have been working in a smaller company, like a family feel, and that a bigger company is just not for them. We also see that, but what we also see is like a lot of talent joining the group from the companies that we acquire, and like spreading their knowledge across to other brands, and that's I think what makes us grow even faster and learn from each other, and be really open on that. And I think if you want to work in vision healthcare, you really need that mentality, not to be afraid like of more competition, but welcome it as not as competition, but as help to further grow your part of the business.
It sounds like there's always learning opportunities, and I like that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move on to the next slide.
Yeah, please do. I think going into the platform. This is about our onboarding approach. So when a new company joins the group, this is more on the technical side of the onboarding. They always already have a technology stack, and that can be, for example, we see Magento or Shopify, or we see homegrown solutions. And at first, we try to leave that platform as is as much as possible, and just understand them, get to know the people, get the trust of the people, etc. And we do security assessments, and after that we do some quick wins. Like an obvious one is to have them join our payment service provider contract. So we put them on our agent contract, or we do their CRM to Klaviyo, so that we can copy over the marketing automations that we know work really well. So we do some quick wins. And after that, we try to strangle the old platform by taking out piece by piece, moving to the more complex stuff. So, for example, if they have a CMS, we take out the CMS and replace it by Hygraph, and we do that part by part. And this is, depending on the size of the company, it can take years, but sometimes we also do it like in a matter of months. And it can even be done in a big bank. So, for example, our new care, I think we also have a slide on that or more later. But that's a Dutch company where we onboarded the whole direct-to-consumer part, from website to logistics to marketplace, everything in a matter of, I think 2 months, 8 weeks. Just took over everything. And then, that the part of the business that stayed, that our platform isn't that good at, the B2B part, we just left as is. And the end goal is always the full stack integration, so that we can really leverage the people, the technology, the process, the BI of the whole Vision Healthcare tech stack.
Yeah, I mean, the process here is what's blowing me away. I know, the tools get you part of the way there, but having that kind of detailed step-based process that you just run the playbook every time it's time to onboard a new brand is impressive. What was it like working that out and understanding, what you could do, what you couldn't do, where people struggled?
Yeah, well, I think we learned it the hard way. Before we just flew in and say, okay, we're going to take over. But now we're we're getting better at it along the way. And yeah, it's not only about the e-commerce or the CMS. It's also about like the whole finance, or for example, their office platform that needs to be consolidated. That's always going first, like their service, etc. But it's we're getting good at it right now because we're doing it for so many years now. And I think the most important piece of it is getting the trust and getting the people of the target office on board, and making sure that they stay on board during the process. That's
So when it comes to the digital platform part, we've got a question here. How do you? You've obviously got an idea of how you want things to be set up when you bring in a new brand. Do they? How did you decide what these individual brands still need to be responsible for control versus what you want to be able to control centrally?
Yeah, that's always a process, and I think it really depends on their business model, but also on the markets. If we already have a big business in their market, and our platform and our warehouse is well established, then it's a no-brainer. But sometimes they have really complicated logistics, etc., or special features that we don't have, and then we really need to go into a project mode where we first investigate, okay, what is it, how can we copy it over, where does it fit in the platform? And that's not really a playbook thing. Those are the longer projects, and where we really need to fly in and work with the team and work with our back end and front end team to get to know their specs and migrate it over in a sensible way.
Luckily, the bulk of it's covered in the process, and then there's some exception handling that has to happen. But that makes sense.
And the standard e-commerce flows, those are simple, but sometimes they have a weird channel, like the catalog business, for example. We didn't have any experience with that. How do you know if a catalog is successful? So because it's really hard to measure, and all those things.
The content exercise, and then the printing, and
exactly. And like how do you determine what customer gets what catalog, etc. But that then takes way longer time, and we need to take over all these reports in our BI platform, etc., before you can take it over fully. The e-commerce part mostly is the simpler part, because that's our core business.
I have fond memories of catalogs. I remember looking at those when I was a kid a lot. It's been a long time. Great. So I'm going to move on to the next one.
So this is our the platform journey of the target platform that we are building. So first we had a .NET platform that was homegrown. We started building that because we needed it for subscriptions, because a large part of our business is recurring orders or subscriptions, where a customer gets a new package of food supplements every 3 months. But yeah, when we first it seemed to be a good idea, but then we ran into scaling issues. So we said, okay, we're now getting bigger and bigger and more complex. So we want to go more off the shelf. So in 21, we made the headless pivot, and now we call it more the composable platform, where we have best of breed components like Hygraph, like Commercetools, and have a custom-made front end that connects all these parts together and presents it to the customer. Along the way, we already had some swaps. For example, our CMS, first it was Umbraco. It was like a company that helped us set up the platform. They advised it to us, but we really ran into limitations. So we decided to look for a replacement. And then, one of our developers actually found a Graph CMS, it was called back then, I think.
Yep.
And within weeks we were already further with that than we were struggling with Umbraco. So we just migrated the content over, and we still made the deadline of the project. And we had the same with our e-commerce backend. So first we had an open source platform. It's called NobCommerce. Really hard to manage, customize, and actually keep in the air. So we replaced that by Commercetools. First, we just started using the product catalog and shopping cart part of Commercetools. And now we're moving more and more data entities into Commercetools. So, for example, we are moving the customers from our legacy Coltan to Commercetools and our recurring orders, et cetera, and then we can just focus on making the custom stuff that's really special to our business, and that's primarily on the front end. So that's where the most of our engineering capacity goes to now, not maintaining all these custom stuff, but really building new features. And the Commercetools is now live since 23.
Okay.
And that's working out really well for us. So we're really turning that into a project that it's kind of our PIM or our e-commerce PIM. So it has the products, the prices, the availability per market, inventory, etc. The basic product information, and then we have Hygraph. I think it's on the next slide. There's more details on that. We have Hygraph for all the rich content. This is our onboarding. This is not our track record. Can you go to the next one?
Sure. Did I miss a slide? Is this it?
No, it's later, but maybe more on our stack. So I already mentioned Commercetools and Hygraph, but we also have Fuelerify for referrals and loyalty. So, for example, the member get member program. It's also an API first platform, so it's really easy to integrate and to extend and really fit all our different business models needs. The front end I already mentioned. It's a Next.js and Tailwind app. So everything is server-side rendered. So we pull the data from Hygraph and Commercetools and then build a page and then serve it to the public, like fully cached. So it's really performant. Everything is cached in Cloudflare. I won't go through all the tools itself, but
it's cool to see this all together in one place though. Like you have a true modern composable commerce stack. And I think Hygraph's excited to be part of it.
And I think what for us, because like a few years ago, like it was really a buzzword going headless, going composable, but it really worked out for us that way, that we swapped components and that we took out bad performing, or if they get too expensive. For example, our A/B testing tool, first we had VWO and now we're with Growthbook. It gives us way more features, but also it's cheaper, and that's it's working out really well for us. Like a new vendor's coming up in the market, and then we just can swap it to the next one.
I think it's kind of the promise that I think headless was sold on. I've been at these companies quite a while, and sometimes it's not quite so true that it's easy to swap things out, but you've really built it. And now, do you find, you mentioned cost as an issue. Like, I think, every business is thinking about that now. And I have no idea. We haven't talked about this before, for those listening, but I wonder sometimes how much that kind of increasing AI cost hitting the business means folks are trying to find savings in other ways and looking at kind of other SaaS subscription models and what might be costing too much.
Yeah, like some of these tools probably won't be around for long with all the AI development that's now going really fast. So yeah,
I was at a Gartner event last week, and I think, not a super optimistic view of the SaaS world in the world of AI, but I also think that the reality of AI deployments and at the enterprise especially it's not working as seamlessly as folks thought it would. And I think there's some questioning of investments in terms of, fully automating or replacing people. It still seems to be a helper more than something that can take over a role in a business.
Yeah, for now at least, for the coming years, it will be. Yeah, I do see a lot of people in our company too, like now really thinking they're a software engineer, and that they can build everything. But yeah, I also think that in software engineering, like bootstrapping a prototype, it's really easy. But really making it work and taking it to production, that's the hardest part, and that's still a hard part, even if you do AI development. Yeah, I think doing the AI development on top of a really good infrastructure like Hygraph and Commercetools, that makes it way easier. That you have a proper set of APIs with really good documentation that the AI can interpret it. Then you see, nice results. But if you just let it loose on a legacy code base, or then it just it becomes a mess really fast. And if you don't have somebody who can direct it, make it, do the plans, or first make a plan and then build a plan.
And
That's the hard part. Still,
like you need context and governance and security, right?
Exactly.
And those are always the hardest part about kind of prod dev and finishing something for release to a wide user base. Still,
I see a question about multiple vendors. What I would advise to them, I think that's a downside, because you do need to do a lot of negotiations, and I don't really like them. But on the other hand, it also gives you flexibility to the vendors, because they know you are flexible to also swap out components. So I think it's easier to talk to 10 different vendors than every 5 years to one big one that knows you will stay anyway, because it's almost impossible to migrate.
There's a bit of a trade-off, right? And I was gonna my follow-up to you was kind of gonna be, what is it about your perspective on technology or perspective on business that means you would rather protect the flexibility of this kind of composable architecture than go down a suite route where you might get 80% of this from a single vendor, cut down those negotiations, but lose something in the process?
Yeah, exactly that. But also, like, the big platforms, they're almost always too opinionated about how you should handle your processes or what your data model should look like. Like, the reason why Hygraph is such a good CMS for us is that we can model the data exactly as we want it, without going to a consultant or without going to a tech team of a different company saying, okay, these are our specs. This is how you should build it or update it for us. No, we can do that ourselves, and we can just test it, build a new model, add a new field, see how it works. If it's not good, roll it back. And then when it's okay, we just launch it and build on top of it. And I think for us as a company, that's really important because we are agile. We don't have a lot of project managers who can manage the external vendors. We just have pretty small team that develops everything in-house, but only the parts that are special to us. So we really need to customize the few parts that make us special, and the rest should just work, and we just shouldn't worry about it. And I think like Commercetools is a really good example on that, where you can easily extend the model with new fields, but also with processes, listen to the service bus, the webhooks, etc. And Hygraph has that too. So we can just have a new ID, build on it, iterate on it, and go live with it without ever talking to Hygraph or Commercetools or whoever. That's what makes us I think really agile, and it's also fun to work with. That you don't have to go through project managers or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. Like it comes down to, I guess, what's right for the business. In some cases, you can buy a whole bunch of off-the-shelf stuff. You don't need to customize it. It's going to be simple enough to do what you need. But increasingly I think about innovation, and especially in a world where everybody's using the same 3 tools to vibe code apps or generate content. So having that, I guess, that self-awareness to know what is most critical to protect for the business and where you need that flexibility is really impressive.
Yeah.
So do you want to go on to the next one, or we want to go back?
Yeah, please.
There we go.
Next one. Yeah. So this is our high over how we get the content from Hygraph and Commercetools. I already mentioned it a bit. So in Commercetools, we model our basic data. So we have a project that has products, and we can say, okay, these products are available in a specific region or for a specific brand in a store. So the store determines the colors and the font and the logo, etc. And then Hygraph, it's just a big repository of content structured that we can pull through the API, and that maps to the stores and to the tenant. So all the products, they live also in Hygraph, but also our blogs, our normal pages like customer support, reviews, etc., etc. And that's consolidated in our backend for front end. And then the Next.js pulls that through the backend for front end, but we pull many sources also, for example, Trustpilot or trusted shops, the trust vendors. And then we do a daily build. So all the content is pre-compiled, pre-rendered. And then it's cached through Cloudflare and delivered to our customer. So it's really performant. Like the hits of if there's a big spike in traffic, our systems don't even notice it. And then we have a setup where we have these multiple brands in a single project, but we also have single brands. For example, Flindal, it's like a single brand in a local market. So we can model it however we want it. So brands that are more on themselves can have that, but we can also have a brand that has all these products, selling them in different geos in many languages, etc.
And then the Vitamin Express kind of collects products from all of these different brands.
Yeah, exactly. So we really want to turn Vitamin Express into our European multi-brand store, like a marketplace for food supplements where we can have all our brands. But also if it's a small brand with only 7 products and it lives in Vitamin Express, you can also really easily spin up a brand store. So we just have a brand store with only those 7 products, and it taps into the same Hygraph content and Commercetools data. And that's a matter of weeks to get such a store live, and then it has like all the technology that also is available on Vitamin Express without having duplicate content or whatever.
I was just going to say, if the product information is in Hygraph, you can kind of easily share that out to whatever store needs it. Okay. And the oh man, I had a question and it's left my head. So is there kind of an active business intelligence process that's kind of watching products, see if they spike, or buyer interest spikes or volume spikes, and that kind of is the cue to set up a brand for it?
No, not really based on BI, but that's more on the business managers. For example, we have a brand that's already active. It's a marketplace first brand, and then we say, okay, we see opportunities also if you have a brand store, because if you have them next to each other and you do promotions for one, then you see the other also picking up.
Oh, interesting.
And because it's so easy for us now to launch a new store in a region, you can do that. Maybe normally it wouldn't pay off, or you wouldn't spend the time on it, but it's now so easy. You don't have to do multiple inventory locations or whatever.
Like the supply chain doesn't change, the architecture doesn't change. It's just some branding and launch.
Yeah, it's just a logo, some colors, and a font, and then the content is already there. Sometimes some translations, but yeah,
it's an incredible brand machine. I like it.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Click on to the next one here.
Yeah, already think
we kind of covered
pretty much covered this.
Yeah. And the key point here at the bottom, being able to optimize for the right architecture, not anything else. Then being able to kind of stay future-proof, vendor independent, and look out for innovative new products that might be able to improve what you're doing here.
Yeah, like that's what we're saying for a long time. Like we don't know what the next new big channel will be. Currently we know it pretty sure that it will be the agentic channel, but just channels are born, rise, and they die off again. So we need to be able to expose our product data there, capture the demand, etc. And if a channel is not there anymore, just cut it out, the whole component. And that, I think we're doing a pretty good job on that.
Because Hygraph is structured content, does that make it a relatively easy task to think about how you then can push that to agentic channels?
So we're currently working with Commercetools, as I mentioned, to expose the data. Currently, it's pretty simple data. So it's what we already have. So it's just getting some fields from Hygraph and Commercetools, and we can expose that. It's like a feed to a marketplace, for example, or to Google Merchant Center. And what we do see is that probably there will be some LLM in between, like altering the content a bit. But for us it's really easy. It's just a matter of mapping fields.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and pulling them from APIs.
So I know we don't want to go into hyper detail here, but I thought it would be interesting for our audience to kind of see how your team's composed and kind of how they work together. You got everything so efficient. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, so we try to focus as much capacity on the front end, because there we can really build the features that look good and touch our customers, and that are really tailored to selling food supplements. So that's where we want to spend most of our time. Then we have a backend team. They are responsible for making the connections to new warehouses, new payment providers, etc., and making sure that the subscriptions are being handled. And then we have a small team who's responsible for project management, A/B testing, and UX design, and me. And then the right part, I think it's pretty standard. So we work in sprints, kind of a Scrum framework. Everything is automated, CI/CD testing, etc., like integration tests. It's all pretty standard, I think, nowadays, and it's all really already prepared for AI development too. So you see that picking up so fast with our team. I think developers are rarely in staring at screens of code anymore. It's really about managing your agents now.
Yeah, it almost seems like the ideation is more important now. Actually putting together a POC, throwing together something quickly can happen. But you have to know where you're aiming, what your goals are, where your business wants to be, which I think is interesting. It's a big shift. I think one of the things you said when we chat about this before was that a lot of the infrastructure is settled, and these folks get to work on the interesting, fun challenges.
Yeah, I think that's the whole API first part. I think that's really strong for. You don't need the really experienced into the databases and knowing how to manage an index and whatever. It's just this is your contract, this is your API, this is the documentation. Go build nice things on top of it, and that's working out really well. So from a productivity perspective, but also onboarding new people on the front end, it's just really fast.
Yeah, I think that's a huge advantage in your space, right? Where, something can change in 2 weeks and you need to launch a new brand or move some things around. And then that also just the customer experience, UX is all critical in kind of making that buying process as seamless as possible.
Yeah. Next slide. I think that's on the. So we ran into kind of a problem because what we do is, for example, we have German content, and that's then translated to the Netherlands or to Norway. And there are European rules. It's called EFSA, what you can claim about the food supplement, but the rules are European, but they are interpreted differently in the countries. So what you can say in Germany is different than what you can say in the Netherlands. So what we encountered is our auto-translated content, and that was tweaked a bit by the Dutch team for Vitamin Express. Then we got flagged by the EFSA, or at least the Dutch governing body on EFSA. So we needed a tool because we have such a big repository of product content, it's impossible to go through it manually. So what we did is we built a tool that just pulls the data directly from Hygraph. It sends it with an EFSA prompt to Claude, and then get back, okay, these are the violations in your text. So we get the product content, the violations, and then a human can assess those violations, and Claude already proposes you can replace it with this, and then the webshop manager only needs to say, okay, apply this change to Hygraph, and then it gets pushed to Hygraph, and it's published right away. So it's now really easy to tailor the prompt to a specific country, and then have the tool scan the content, but also have a human in the loop checking the content and then publishing the content. And I think this is almost impossible if you don't have structured data in Hygraph that you can pull through an API, that you can mutate through an API.
I mean, I was super excited when you showed this to me. I think this is something I've felt that CMS has been missing for a while, and to see that it's now, fairly straightforward to put together. I won't say easy, but thinking about obviously regulatory content, but also because content, kind of gets created once and used many times, you don't have to find 30 instances of that same piece of content to fix. You can kind of streamline that ongoing management and maintenance of content, to meet those deadlines.
So I think this, if if we could have like agents running in Hygraph already on our data, and that it's integrated in that UI, that would be even nicer. Like building this tool was, it was really fun, and took us almost no time. I think if you would have need to do this a couple of years ago, you would never have done it. You would just have some students checking all your content manually, because this would be a software development process of months, I guess.
It's even like I once I saw this in action, I started thinking about how desperately I wanted it on our own Hygraph, and thinking about how important GEO is to businesses now. If you've got messaging that's 5 years old and out of date, it's throwing off your LLM results when people search for you.
Yeah, you get a penalty. So if you can proactively do that, and now we can scan before we are getting flagged by EFSA, or for example, you also have payment providers, credit card vendors that are really strict on if you sell prohibited supplement, and it's allowed in one country but not allowed in another. Then they just cut off your credit card accepting. So and with these tools we can proactively scan our content and make sure that it's compliant, and tweak the rules to the specific country. And I think that works really well. And again, you can't do this directly on a database, because the difference is that because we do everything through an API, that content is exactly handled the same as if a content manager through the UI of Hygraph would do it. So it's going through all the validations, through all the publications, so the cache is cleared, etc., etc. And having an API to build on really makes that possible for us.
Was there any consideration around things like audit logs, or knowing that these changes came through Claude versus a human, for example?
That's why we still have a human in the loop. But we also store like, these are the violations, and this is what Claude recommended to replace it with, and this is what it was actually replaced with. And we can use that data again to optimize the prompt. So, and then if we're satisfied, if it does a 99% good job, then we can run it in bulk, fully automated, or fully autonomous. But we don't dare to do that yet. And we did have some mistake, so it messed up some content, but also then we could just take it back from the audit log in Hygraph, so restore it really easily. It was a lot of fun.
Eliminates the risk, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I know we're heading up on time. I think we are at our Q&A. So good chance if anybody's got questions they haven't asked, feel free to drop them in. I have a few that I can start with, and these are kind of all over the place, so we can feel free to think deep about them. But one question is, CMS is very commoditized. Everyone started calling themselves headless and composable, over the last 10 years. What separates a great platform from a mediocre one, for someone like you?
For us, it's most important that it's reliable, that it's repeatable, that it's up, it works, it has a good price, and that it has really good API, so we can do everything ourselves without having to include a vendor, wait a couple of weeks. But we need to be able to program everything on top of it. That's most important. And I promise that these days, and I don't know the market as well as you do, so maybe you can tell a little bit more about that. But at least for us, we really like Hygraph on all these factors. So
I mean, I have been around a while in the space, and it is more commoditized than it ever has been before, in my opinion. I think, like you said, documentation, UX, UI, I think makes a huge difference. I think a company that has a vision and a mission, strangely enough, like I know I'm in marketing, but I think having a strong POV, having a strong voice is kind of going to be critical in this next phase of tech growth. I think that especially with GEO, for people to find you and discover you and understand in an instant what you're about, that has to be intentional. It can't be accidental. And so it's something we think a lot about at Hygraph, as we continue evolving. And it's what I would be looking for, in buying a service or a technology now is, do they know where they're going with this thing, or is it just interesting tech? And I have to figure out how to use it, I think is one of the questions I would ask myself. So the other one I've got here is, what was the biggest challenge as you were migrating from homegrown CMS to this new kind of composable stack you put together?
Yeah, the hardest part is, I think, it's just reducing the business risk and keeping everybody, keeping the trust in the project. Because like the first phase when we went to the composable stack, then it was pretty unknown, and I was really convinced that it was a good shift. But not everybody was as convinced as I was. There were also people saying, why don't we just go from Magento 1 to Magento 2? It's working for us now. It's just being deprecated. Why not Magento? And I think over the years, it really proved to be a good one, because now, you see the troubles that some of the brands are running into with Magento.
I might be biased, but it seems like a tall order to ask to migrate an entire brand to Magento in 6-8 weeks.
That's for sure. But that was, I think, the hardest part. And from a technology perspective, it wasn't that hard. I think it's making sure that every system stays in sync, maybe, because you do have a lot of moving parts with a composable setup. And that's something you need to orchestrate. So you need some really skillful people to do that, or like an external team to help you with it. And you need to make really good design choices. So what's the owner of a specific piece of data? Like where do I put what data, and what system owns the data, and what system just reads the data? Those kind of decisions, those are decisions you really need to take care of when you go to a composable stack. Because if you do that wrong, then you get a lot of copies of the same data all over the place, stuff that goes out of sync, and then you really run into trouble.
It's interesting. Like I've been, around the kind of content modeling conversation, content architecture, schema, for almost 10 years now. And I think it's never been more relevant than it is now, especially with AI use cases. So taking the time to understand what it is you're trying to achieve and how you can shape the architecture and content to suit that, I think is key.
Yeah, like building a good content model, I think that's also one of the hardest parts, because it's really easy to add a field, but it's almost impossible to remove a field. So once you have it, you need to populate it, you need to maintain it, and that can also go out of hand. We once did a PIM project where the consultant just said, okay, everybody give what fields do you need, and we ended up with 1,000 fields for a product. But that project just stranded. So we took that out, and we said, okay, we're not going to do a PIM. We're just going to use Commercetools and Hygraph, and that's then our e-commerce PIM. But keeping your model as small as possible, I think that's also a hard one, and not really putting somebody in charge of that model, not have everybody create fields having good naming conventions, etc., good descriptions of the fields. Really somebody who thinks about that and makes it work, because otherwise the flexibility of such a system will definitely work against you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for walking us through your story. It was really great to hear, not only how you're using Hygraph, but really how you kind of shaped this brand platform for Vision Healthcare. Really cool story. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks for having me. Was the first time, but really enjoyed it, and thank you for asking the questions.
Fantastic. Thanks everybody for joining us today. It's the end of our webinar. If you want to learn more about structured content, Hygraph or Vision Healthcare, feel free to reach out, and we're happy to help. Ciao.
Bye-bye.